Hello everyone and welcome to Zandvoort. This is a brand new racing series with SimRacingOnline. We are going to be racing Lola T70 MarkIIs, a car from the mid-1960s which has become legendary in the world of motorsport. We're also at the older version of Zandvoort, a version that saw races in the 60s and 70s, and as a result this is going to feel like a very historically accurate Grand Prix. Apologies about the leaderboard there. I'm trying to sort out the volume so that you can hear both the cars and me a decent amount. So far we're in qualifying. We have 11 minutes of this qualifying session left to go, and then we will be into a race which I believe will be 1 hour. I will just double check that to make sure I'm not missing any rules or regulations or things that I should know about. But anyway, it's a 15-minute qualifying session and we have 11 minutes to go. We're currently watching Phil Brown. He was the first driver to set a lap. It was a 1:27.555 and he has since been beaten by Laurent Luns and Tim Muttram. You'll notice some of these big names here are similar or the same as ones you've seen in the GPL 67 series, the DRM Revival series, Touring Car Legends series. Basically, a lot of the drivers that we're seeing here are drivers who have appeared on this channel in broadcast before. The race will indeed be a 60-minute race, which appears to be the standard for SimRacingOnline historic Assetto Corsa races. And Matteo Santini's just gone to the top of the order. Look at that. So it's Santini first, but only by 7 thousandths of a second ahead of Brown and then Muttram. And then it's Lons and Shepard, the top 5 in the early stages. Lorenzo Galuzzi improves, but stays 6th. 11 drivers have set laps so far. That's about the number we were expecting in this session. And if you want your YouTube comments to be read out over the course of this broadcast, and just leave them in the live chat, and I will be keeping an eye on it to see if anyone's got anything interesting to say. Tim Muttram's back in the pits now. If he drove in by his own steam, then he will be able to go out onto the track again and give it another go. If not, then he won't, because you do have to go back to the pits under your own power. And make it all the way back as well. Now let's see what Matteo Santini can do as he crosses the line. Is he going to improve yet again? Yes, he is. 126.990. So he becomes the first driver to go under 127 and is immediately beaten by Laurent Luns in the number 8, who does a 126.842. Fantastic. Now I believe that because I'll just double check that, but I believe that because these are all the same cars, there aren't going to be any duplicate numbers. Whoa, big slide from Jos August there, like there were in some of the other classic series. I may be wrong, but I think we're going to have unique cars all the way around, which is great to see. Actually, Mark Johnson has a similar one to Phil Brown, but anyway, Maddie Shepard just improved, P5, 127.303. And in that dark blue, navy blue Lola. All of these cars absolutely identical, so this is just a test of how well the drivers get on with this car, and the drivers' own unique skill sets, rather than which car is better. Of course, previously, in the other championships, the other Assetto Corsa historic championships that I've mentioned, there have been different types of car and sometimes different car classes to focus on. Phil Brown now second, 126.944. So that is an improvement, as Matteo Santini is in the pits and not improving for the time being. Maddie Shepard coming up towards the end of the course. It's always difficult to tell where they actually are on the track with the historic Zandvoort circuit, but of course, of course, a classic circuit with a lot of heritage. It's good to see it on the calendar, and I believe Oh, Lorenzo Galuzzi's just gone up to 4th. Tim Muttrum's had a little off there. Let's see what Shepard does. Oh, goes 2nd. Great lap from Maddie there. 126.881. Very nice. Maddie Shepard, her most recent race with SimRacingOnline was the F2 Classic race at Spa, which I was also part of, and we actually came together at turn 1. Wasn't either of our faults. Another driver triggered that all, but anyway, both of us ended up retiring from the race, which is a shame. But yeah, Maddie Shepard there, less than half a tenth of a second off Lauren Lund. She could still be a real contender for a pole position here. Here's Matteo Santini, led this session for quite a while, and then was dumped out of the top 3. Phil Brown now up to 2nd, so Brown, Demuth, Shepard, and look at that, the top 3 are separated by less than half a tenth of a second. This is really close. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this close. The lap time is about 1.5 minutes, just a few seconds under that. So realistically, you should be looking at tenths of a second rather than hundredths of a second separating the pack. But this is great news. Matteo Santini approaching the finish line out of the Boss Wheat, which is that long final corner. And across the line, what is the time? No improvement. Galuzzi does improve, but stays 5th. Shabalako also just improved, but stayed 8th there. There is Shabalako. Here's Lauren Lund's current pole sitter, or provisional pole sitter, I should say. In another excellently liveried Lola T70 MarkII. These cars are absolutely legendary. I was speaking to my granddad about this car just earlier today, and he was saying how it was the first race car that truly looked like a race car in his opinion. Lola, of course, developed the original T70 in 1965. The Mark II came out a few years later, and raced in Can-Am and the like. Lauren Lund's now across the lane, and he's 7 tenths down on that lap, so no improvement for Lund's that time around. Actually, let's look at Matteo Santini briefly, as he's coming out the final corner now, and approaching the start-finish line. So we'll see if he goes any quicker. In fact, let's ride on board with Santini. Oh my goodness, driver's eye view there. Yep, let's stick with that. Santini goes pole, 126.776. Still less than a tenth of a second, and runs wide at turn 1. But still less than a tenth of a second faster than anyone else. It's still extremely close up front there. The top 3 separated by just a tenth of a second. And Shepard only a few thousandths off that pace. But yeah, goodness me. So Santini now at the top, but it's still ridiculously close. We've seen the Tarzanbocht, Gerlachbocht and Hugenholzbocht already. This is the Rob Slotermaker Bocht, as it's known today. And then you go over the crest of the hill into what is now Scheiflach. Now, the circuit nowadays would jink off to the right here, but instead of that, we go off to the left through Hondenflat and whatever that corner was called. Past the Tunnel East Tunnel, which isn't really there anymore. Even back in those days, there wasn't really a tunnel to go through. And it looks as if that was a bit of a lag spike there, so that looked as if it was Santini crashing. It wasn't, so don't worry about that. Out of Panorama Bocht and through the Pulleveld towards the checkered flag start-finish line. And I don't think this lap is going to be an improvement. Oh, it was! My goodness! 126.594. I didn't think it would be, because he went slightly wide at Tarzanbocht, turn 1. But look at that! 126.594. In fact, that is over 2 tenths of a second faster than anyone else. So that is by far the quickest lap we've seen today, especially since it was so close between all of these drivers before that. Let's see if Maddie Shepard's being held up here. That's Jos Ogos. John van der Geest just improved to 8th. But yeah, I don't think Maddie is going to improve on this time. In fact, I think she may have backed off there. And we'll just be going for a slipstream the next time around. Either that or coming into the pits. Let's see. She will be starting her final flying lap. There we go. Jos Orgos there improves to P7. So, didn't need to get out of the way of Shepard there. They were both being timed, and that was just unfortunate track position for Maddie Shepard, who goes for it again. Let's look at Laurent Lens, who's just completed a lap actually, but was down on Santini's time. And this, I'm not sure if he crossed the line before it... well, I'm not sure if he's going to cross the line before it ticks to 0 or not. It's going to be close, but this may well end up being his final attempt at a flying lap. And we now have 12 drivers who have set a lap, so one driver has joined us since last time I mentioned that. 1 minute to go in this session. Zandvoort, the circuit. Later on in the season we're going to Donington, the historic Donington circuit, then Laguna Seca historic, Bridgehampton, Riverside NASCAR. Ooh, as there's someone hitting the wall up ahead, and Lons pulling off, so Lons will not take pole position here. It's now between... Well, actually, I think Santini's pretty safe in pole position right now. Depends on whether Orgos is holding up Shepard too much. Let's see out the final corner. Shepard with the slipstream. And they're going to cross the line side by side. Let's see what their lap times are. Shepard is going to be faster than Orgos is. And Shepard goes pole! My goodness! I really thought Santini was safe there. Maddie Shepard goes pole position. 126.471. And spins it in celebration. That was an amazing lap. Now, Shepard's not going to get another chance, but I reckon she is absolutely safe now, because Lons isn't going to improve. Santini might still. Let's watch Santini. Santini needs to gain just over 1/10 of a second out of the final corner, the boss suite, and towards the start-finish line. This is crucial. This is looking quick. Look at the timer. Oh, it's not quick enough. It's not quick enough. Maddie Shepard has pole position here. Let's watch everyone else coming back to see if there are any improvements. Lorenzo Galuzzi's currently P5. Might want to jump onto the front couple of rows of the grid, but Maddie Shepard will be stoked at that. I was speaking to her just before the race, and she said this car is really understeery. She was suffering from understeer, and I was quite surprised about that, because I've driven a Lola T70 on RFX2 and it felt oversteery. But anyway, here comes Lorenzo Galuzzi across the line for his time, and that is down as well. Only it will by less than 1/10 of a second off his best, but still it was no improvement. What about Paul Anstey? He is currently P8. And I believe he may end up being the last driver across the start-finish line in this session. He does not improve. Where's Mark Johnson? This is an outlap for Mark Johnson, so that is not going to be an improvement. There we go, across the line. And that is your order. Maddie Shepard takes pole position ahead of Matteo Santini. Laurent Lens is third. Then it's Phil Brown, Lorenzo Galuzzi, Tim Muttram, Jos Orgos, Paul Anstey, John van der Geest, Csaba Lacko, Maxime Kendall, and Mark Johnson, the 12 drivers who are joining us here today from Zandvoort. It's a decently sized grid. A little worried about attendance later on in the season, since it tends to diminish slightly, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, a decently sized grid. Maddie Shepard takes pole by 0.123 seconds. Nice linear pattern to that time. And what a pole position it was. So, 1 hour of racing set to come up. There is no pit window according to John van der Geest, so but you do have to make a mandatory pit stop to change all 4 tyres, so we'll be keeping an eye out for that as well. Strategy may come into play. I don't think the tyres are going to go off necessarily, but still you can gain or lose track position depending on when you pit and who's around you when you do. But yeah, this could happen at any time in the race. Maddie Shepard asking whether anyone's pitting for fuel. Interesting that she's not sure exactly what strategy people are going to go for on that. Fuel and tyres at the same time, says Tim. Interesting. So that'll be partly because of... so it depends on whether the car can actually complete the whole race on one fuel tank. But also, whether it's better to start the car late and then refuel, or whether you lose time in the pits through doing so. The session ticks over and we have 1 minute to go, so let's have a look at all of these beautiful Lola T70s. There's Maddie Shepherd's dark blue number 30. Matteo Santini, it's a 3 wide front row, so that should be interesting heading down to turn 1. Lauren Luns, 2 blue cars on the front row. Maddie is the one on the inside. Tim Muttram here, surprised he's, and no disrespect to him, but surprised he's so far down on the order. Tim is an extremely quick driver. Phil Brown, P25, or number 25, Lorenzo Galuzzi. Paul Anstey, Jos Ergos, big number, I don't know why it's that high, but anyway. Then we've got Mark Johnson, John Van der Geest, Shabalako. This isn't in order. Ignore that car there, that's just the car that has to be in the session for the cameras to work. Maxine Tendil. And here we go. The lights are about to come on and then extinguish. And when they do, we will be underway for 1 hour of racing. And we are. Here we go at Zandvoort. So 1 hour gets underway. Maddie Shepherd appears to have got away well. But also, we've got around the outside Lauren Luns. So Luns tries to brake later. Oh my goodness, and he gets muscled off the road. Lauren Luns runs wide, touches the barrier, and he's going to drop to the very back. Now, whether that was Maddie Shepherd muscling him out or whether there just wasn't room there is up to you. Although Maddie did have the corner by that point. Shepherd leading, Santini second, Galuzzi third, then Ergos and Muttram. And drama for Luns, he's dropped all the way down to 8th position, so he will have to make up plenty of positions if he's going to score as many points as he'll feel he deserves in this race. Luns gets ahead of Van der Geest immediately. I'm just taking a quick look back at what happened on the YouTube stream. You see, I think that's a racing incident, because on one hand you could argue that Shepherd locked up. Oh, as Anstey I think has gone off. Yeah, Anstey drops to the back. Shame for Anstey, who was running 7th. So yeah, on one hand you could argue that Shepherd locked up and forced Luns off, and on the other hand you could argue that that was Shepherd's corner and Luns was not going to gain anything by being out there. But anyway, it's the kind of thing that happens at the start of races. So Shepherd and Santini, how close can Santini get to Shepherd's car, and how effective's the slipstream as well? This is the first time we've seen slipstream in effect this season. The gap was about 3... Oh! And Shepherd's pulling off. Shepherd is coming into the pits. Now that will be for a drive-through penalty. So Maddie Shepherd has given herself a drive-through penalty for forcing Lauren Luns off the road on the first lap of the race. That is good sportsmanship there from Maddie Shepherd. The rules in this series say that if you cause an incident and someone else comes off worse than you do, you have to give yourself a drive-through penalty to avoid worse penalties being handed to you after the race. So that was what just happened there for Maddie Shepherd, and that is very sportsmanlike. So Matteo Santini leads this race now from Lorenzo Galuzzi, Jos Ergos, Tim Muttram and Lauren Luns, and Santini has a 1.6 second lead. He has built it out to an extent which is quite impressive for the first few laps of this race, and the real battle is now behind him between Galuzzi, Ergos, Muttram and Luns. We're watching that fight now. They're flying through the latter stages of the lap past the braking bollards, and difference in lines there being taken by Muttram and Luns. Luns already recovering to 5th despite touching the wall on the exit of turn 1. Let's see, actually, does he have any steering damage? I don't think he will. It was only a small tap, but you can never be sure with a stiffly sprung racing car such as this one. I think he's okay. Look at where his hands are. That position looks relatively normal there. As Santini completes the second lap of the race, a lot faster than his opponents. Slight lock up there from Muttram. Oh no, big lock up from Muttram, and he touches the... well, he wallops the wall. Straight up whacks it. Gets going again, but Luns is up to 4th, and Muttram may have damage. He's all over the place. He's off the road. Oh my goodness, over the curb. Manages to just about keep it on the road, but I think he probably has some slight damage here. Not comfortable with the car. Not anywhere near as comfortable as we saw him in the Grand Prix Legends series or the DRM Revival series. But anyway, so that does put Lons up to 4th. Jos Ergos is now on the podium, P3. We're heading towards, I believe, is it Panorama Book next? Still trying to get used to this course. We did race here in the GPL series, the 67 Grand Prix series. But yeah, I can't quite remember how that was. It was a long time ago now. Santini already with a 3-second lead, and we're not even 5 minutes of the way through the race. He is absolutely dominating this. Laurent Lons now with the slipstream, approaching Jos Ergos. Santini goes fastest of anyone. Lons to the outside line, and it's all about last of the late breakers here. But has he left it too late? Yes, he has! Look at that! Lons running wide in exactly the same place that he went off on lap 1. Tim Muttram in the pits, probably due to damage. And off in the background as well goes Shabalako from 6th place. Tarzan Bucht is extremely dangerous today. Drivers are locking up and running wide almost every lap. And Shabalako has been caught off guard. He drops to 10th place. That puts Shepard back up to 6th after her drive-through. So, Santini leading by 3.8 seconds. Huge lead. And well, this is the fight for 7th. We've got Tyndall versus Johnston versus Anstey. Johnson, rather, not Johnston. No T. But what a chaotic start to the race. Tim Muttram was the first driver we saw coming into the pits for a scheduled stop. I believe it was probably not a scheduled stop, but an actual pit stop. May have been damage repairs. He drops to 27 seconds behind anyone else in the pack. He'll be about 40 seconds behind the leader, maybe more. Big shame for Muttram this early on in the race. Anstey all over the back of Johnson. Similarly liveried cars here. Oh no, and that's a mistake, and wide goes Johnson and somehow keeps it out of the hay bales. Just about. Anstey and Tyndall are now going to be side by side down the straight. Anstey needs to get back in the slipstream there. Oh no, he doesn't. Look at that, he goes through. So Anstey takes 7th in the space of one corner. Tyndall 8th and Johnston is 9th. Does everyone here make it through turn 1 this time? Yes, they do. Tarzan Bucht. So difficult today. And I do believe what Maddie Shepard was telling me before the race about the car being understeery. Talking of Maddie, where will she finish in this race after that mistake? We shall see. Tyndall now has not only Johnson for company, but Lacko and Brown as well. Brown's been absolutely flying, and Lacko has been recovering from his little incident as well. Wasn't a big incident for Lacko, I don't think he hit anything, but Muttram certainly did. And Johnson spins! Johnson is off! So Johnson's had an incident, and he's going to drop out of the top 10, so Brown into the top 10 now. Now, I think he's lost the engine. Well, steering to try to get it back, so he's kept the engine, he gets it in reverse. Now he needs to put it in first, there we go, he gets away. Yeah, a lot of time lost. Almost gets, well, he does get overtaken by Tim Muttram, who was about half a minute behind him just now. Big shame for Johnson. So, now that's all calmed down. What a chaotic start that was. A lot of people going off, a lot of people making mistakes. Maddie Shepard's now caught up to John van der Geest here. Maddie Shepard, potentially the fastest driver on track. Fastest driver on track right now is Santini, and Van der Geest leaves the door wide open, and Shepard pops through to 5th. So that's a position gained for Maddie Shepard. She's in the top 5 again. Now points here don't just go down to 10th place like you're used to in Formula 1. It is a slightly different point system to usual. It appears to be about half the points that they usually get. But anyway, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so every driver who started this race and completed a lap, which happened to be all 12 of them, will score points no matter if they finish the race or not. Johnson, meanwhile, is in the pits, so I reckon he may be the first retirement from this race, which is a big shame. Laurent Lons now on the back of Jos Ergos, and this is for 3rd place. Now they need to be careful because Maddie Shepherd is charging and will catch them up if they hold each other up for too long. Down the start-finish straight they go. Lons with the slipstream. Slipstream does appear a bit more effective than it has been in some of the other cars we've raced. Lons' last lap was about half a second faster than Ogos's. Someone locked up slightly into turn 1, but they appear to have made the corner there. So Lons is definitely catching, but so too is Shepherd. Phil Brown has just made a move on Lacko, and that's for 9th place, and judging by Lacko's poor exit, I think he may be coming into the pits. Yes, indeed. So Lacko comes in a little early for a scheduled stop. Maybe something's happened there. Or maybe it's a drive-through. No, he's coming in. Never mind. But yeah, it does appear a little earlier than I would have expected. Quite a lot earlier, in fact. Whoa! Ogos gets right over the grass there, and that's going to allow Lons through, is it? Oh my goodness, Lons can't find a gap. He was so close to finding a gap there. And that'll be frustrating for Lons because this... Oh, and off goes Ogos! And he clouts the barriers. So Lons goes through. Ogos will now be under pressure from Shepherd, especially if he's damaged the steering. Shabalako is out of the race. Big shame as Johnson rejoins. So we've lost one and we've gained another, or regained another. 11 cars remaining. Lacko, the first retirement of the series. Ogos under pressure, and Shepherd will have this easily peasily, and sets a personal best lap of the race as she does so. Ooh, Ogos shouldn't have fought that back in the braking zone. That was close. Almost ran off the road again. So Shepherd back up to 4th, Ogos down to 5th. These cars do seem pretty robust. The damage is only set at 50% rather than 100%, and as a result you can bounce off the barriers a bit and get away with it, but you don't want to. And there have been some hard hits in this race so far. I would be surprised if every driver is running completely straight and feeling completely confident in their car's handling right now. These are difficult cars to drive at the best of times. You don't want to end up with wheels pointing in wonky directions, because that would make the car pretty much undrivable. Towards the end of the course, the beautiful sound of the Lola V8 engine. Well, it's not a Lola V8 engine. I don't believe they made the engines for these. There were a couple of different engines used in the T70s, usually American. But I'm not sure exactly what engine. I think it may be a Ford engine actually that's powering these. Just judging by what I saw in the mod files earlier. And Jos doesn't appear to have anything to say about Shepherd, who sets the fastest lap of the race. So as I said earlier, Shepherd is potentially the fastest driver right now. She's already caught up to Lauren Lons. Look at this. So Shepherd setting fastest lap of the race and catching up to that podium position. Maddie Shepherd had a disappointing series in the DRM revival. She probably had the pace to do a lot better than she did, but it just made a few too many mistakes and got involved in a few too many incidents. She ended up being classified second in that, 31 points off Tony Talviti, who won the class, and around the outside of Lauren Lons. Oh, and a big twitch, but they both get away with it. So Maddie Shepherd up to 3rd place, and it looked almost like Lons gave that to her there. Maybe Lons made a mistake of his own and knew he couldn't fight her. So through went Maddie Shepherd. Maddie, of course, used to be known as Mac Shepherd. That was a nickname more than anything. And now Maddie Shepherd racing the number 30 dark blue Lola T70. Maybe under pressure from Lons again, although she does appear to be going extremely quickly right now. Look at that lap time, 1.5 seconds quicker than Lons. I'm going to look back on the YouTube stream quickly to see if Lons did make a mistake. He was locking up heavily going into the corner, and then Shepherd just drove around him on the exit. She's that much faster than him at this point in the race. And Lons isn't slow, you know. Lons is he's a champion in SRO. Shepherd, incidentally, I don't think she has won a SRO championship yet. I don't think, yeah, she hasn't. But Laurent Lons, I think, won one of our GPL series, if I remember correctly. No, he won the TC Legends Championship. My apologies. And he also won the SRO Ferrari 458 Challenge Cup, as well as the Big Boys Toys GT Tour, which is difficult to say if you've never said it before. Maddie Shepherd does have a couple of track records, although those are a bit easier to come by than championships, and she'll be hoping to make this her first, as she appears to have the pace for it. Down the straight, she is pulling away from Lauren Lons here, and another fastest lap of the race. Lons was also fast, but nowhere near as fast as Shepherd there. Shepherd is gunning for it. She's already caught up to Lorenzo Galuzzi. As we speak, Santini has a lead of 10.7 seconds, so he is going to be hard, if not impossible, to catch. Van der Geest and Anstey were side by side in the braking zone there. Anstey had to concede to Van der Geest for the time being. But yeah, Shepherd, fastest lap after fastest lap. Oh, I can hear another announcer there in the background. Didn't know there was anyone calling this race but me. But anyway, obviously different trackside comms being played to those many animated spectators. Get it? Out towards the older section of circuit, the section that isn't there anymore. And I think Anstey might be about to try to take 6th place. Maybe it'll be about the slipstream on the exit. Whoa, getting right over the grass there. You can do that through that. You certainly don't want to lock up. That's what happened to Lauren Lons at that corner. Santini now sets the fastest lap of the race. He is still flying. 11.8 seconds is the gap for the lead. That is quite something. Shepherd now slipstreaming down the straight. What can Galuzzi do about fending her off? Maybe... Oh, I think that's a lap car running wide ahead of them. Oh my goodness, we're going 3 wide on the exit almost. That was a little worrying. They get away with it. Anstey around the outside of Van der Geest, locks a wheel, stays on the road just. What about the exit? Ah, right round the outside. That was a beautiful move there from Paul Anstey. Very well done. 2 seasoned veterans of the SRO Championship there. And Paul Anstey making it stick. Let's look at Galuzzi versus Shepherd versus Lons as well. Lons has been catching Galuzzi at a similar rate to Shepherd in the last couple of laps, ever since Shepherd got past. Now, as I said earlier, catching Santini may be a little impossible by now, because he's got such a gap, but we've still got such a long way to go in this race that it's not over yet. It really isn't. Lorenzo Galuzzi will defend for it though. He has no reason to pull over or get out of the way or anything like that. These guys are racing fairly. And here we go down the straight. Yet again. Shepherd looks close enough for a move here. Shepherd to the inside. And goes through. And into the braking zone. Makes it. There we go. And just to show you the difference in speed there, Galuzzi set his personal best lap of the race. Wasn't even within a tenth of Shepherd's lap. And I don't mean that to criticise Galuzzi or anything like that, but Shepherd is clearly the faster driver at this point in the race. So Shepherd second. What can Lons do about Galuzzi now? Lons won't have the extra benefit of being able to follow Shepherd towards Galuzzi now. Got to do it all by himself. Unless, of course, Galuzzi is held back by Shepherd's presence. towards the end of another lap of racing. We're approaching the stages where I'd expect pit stops to maybe take place. Where they take place in this race will probably set the precedent for the rest of the series. So it's a little uncertain for now, but we'll have a better idea of when it's all going to happen next time around. Next time, of course, being at the classic Donington circuit, the 1930s version of the Donington Grand Prix circuit. And yes, it has been operating for that long. Bit of a lock-up from Shepherd. She appears to be okay. Good. And Galizzi and Lund set very similar lap times in behind. More lock-ups. These cars do tend to be tough on the brakes. Of course, no ABS back in those days. Oh no, sorry. Spitting flames. I always like to point that out when a car spits flames. You saw it on the Grand Prix Legends cars. You saw it on the DRM cars. You've seen it on a lot of different historic racing cars. But it's very evident on these Lolas. There we go. Giving us a good demonstration of that. And a puff of smoke just to seal the deal. Past the advertising boards. Lons does appear to be the quicker driver out of the two at this point in the race. Galizzi's very good, but so is Lauren Lons. Trying to find Galizzi's SimRacingOnline results as well. He was second in the TC Legends Championship that we did a little while ago. Has recently been competing in the Porsche Cayman GT4 Championship. He's got a couple of podiums in that. His last win, in fact his only win in SimRacingOnline so far, did come in the TC Legends Championship. That was around at Mexico. As Phil Brown there passes Maxime Tendel, so that is a change for 8th position as we speak. And runs slightly wide, but manages to hold on to the to his newly gained position. Maxime Tendel may have the best livery on the grid, potentially. It's a matter of opinion, but it's certainly pretty feisty looking. I guess if you're watching along live, put in the YouTube comment which of the drivers you think has your favourite livery, and if there's a time in the race where there's less going on, then I'll be sure to keep an eye on that driver for you. Here's another couple of candidates for that actually. And if you're watching after the race as well, the comment section is still available. It's just, of course, I won't be able to read it out live. Maddie Shepherd, I think the first driver under 127 in this race. Look at that, 126.846. I may be wrong, but Shepherd there, fastest again. The gap 12.4 seconds. Still looking pretty unsurmountable, but we're not halfway through yet. So don't count your eggs before they've hatched. It's certainly Santini's to lose, I'll give you that, but lose it he might. So we're over a third of the way into this race now. Matteo Santini is leading by 12 seconds over Maddie Shepherd, and there's 3 seconds back to Lorenzo Galizzi, and only 1 second back to 4th place Laurent Lons. Jos Ogos is 5th, then it's Paul Anstey, John van der Geest, Phil Brown, Maxime Tendel, and Tim Muttram, the top 10, with the only other driver running, Mark Johnson, who is 2 laps down due to some sort of incident that he had earlier on. Jabalako, so far the only official retirement. I thought Johnson would be for a while, but after a very lengthy pit stop, he did return to the circuit. And Maddie Shepherd, another storming lap time, 126.727. She hasn't given up on this win, has she? Now less than 12 seconds behind Santini. I've got to applaud her efforts here. Trouble is, if you push too hard, sometimes you can end up making mistakes. But I always find that it's easier to make mistakes if you're consciously thinking not to push, because then you get bored, or you get frustrated, or you lose concentration and you just lose it. By taking more concentration, by using more concentration, yeah, it takes a lot out of you, but I find that you're actually less likely to make mistakes during the race. That's why I always prefer qualifying to the race myself, but may just be me. Towards the end of the lap come Galuzzi and Lons. If Lons can line up Galuzzi through the final corner and get a good slipstreaming run, and actually that's going to help because Galuzzi made a mistake on the way into the corner there. Lons on the exit. Doesn't get as much of a slipstream as he might, because he wasn't able to tailgate Galuzzi off the corner, but he does have the faster straight line speed there, and has the inside line for Tarzan Bocht, and that's where you want to be. Laurent Lons is up into 3rd position, and onto the podium, back onto the podium in the number 8. Very good move from Laurent Lons. And for Lorenzo Galuzzi, he just needs to stick with him. And remember, we're still yet to see what happens in the pit cycle as well. So things could still change. Johnson's back into the pits. This is about the right... Oh no, he's out, never mind. I was about to say this is about the right time for a scheduled pit stop, but I'm afraid he is indeed out of the race. So 10 drivers remain now. Unusual to see Tim Muttram in last place. He's not responding to this Lola as well as he did some of the other cars. Admittedly, you know, he has been in the pits and a lot of the others haven't, but whatever the case, only running down in 10th position as it stands out of the 10 who still run in this race. Matteo Santini sets the fastest lap, so he knows that Shepard's catching and is pushing back. 126.689. That is very quick. Something's got to give in that fight for the lead there. I say fight for the lead. Well, Shepard actually lost 8/10 to him on that last lap, so Shepard must have made a mistake somewhere. Either that or just not pushed anywhere near as hard as she has been on the last few laps. But yeah, Santini and Shepard mainly just trading fastest lap at this point. I don't think there's a point for fastest lap. I can double check that, but I'm not aware of a point for fastest lap. Yeah, no, pole position and fastest lap are both worth no points in this. Contrary to what they were worth in, say, the Grand Prix Legends series that we did a while ago. So last time we raced at this track, or this version of this track, fastest lap points were available, but this is a different race altogether. Right under the camera lens. Galuzzi still sticking with Lons. We still have a little bit of a fight for 3rd place. It's not really a scrap or a battle right now, but kind of a drawn out fight. And Lons knows that he's won the battle but not the war, as there's still a very long way to go in this race. Shepard is disappearing ahead of them. Shepard and Santini in a class of their own today. It was a very close qualifying, but in the race they've just been on their own. Laurent Lons setting his personal best lap of the race, trying to pull away from Lorenzo Galuzzi. Appears to be working, but not as quickly as he would like. These two more evenly matched on pace than it seemed at first. And still looking pretty quick. I'm not sure if there is a tyre drop-off or anything like this. I think these cars do use slick tyres. In fact, I can double check that with a camera view you wouldn't get in real life. unfortunately. No, those aren't slick tyres. Those are grooved Can-Am tyres that they're on. And Galuzzi gets a better exit. Oh my goodness! Was almost able to get his nose alongside Lons there. It's not a corner that Lons likes. I've seen him going wide into there a couple of times now. Galuzzi went in there once or twice a little wide, but appears to be consistently better through that. Over the curb, my goodness. Almost looked like a touring car for a second there, and Santini pits. So Santini comes into the pits. There's a building there, almost in the pit lane. Now, Shepherd goes through to lead. Lons is also coming in. Lons also pits from 3rd position. We're in the pit stop stage. Have a look at that building. My goodness. Well, luckily it's not where... Oh, Lons has missed his box. He's had to reverse for it. So Lons, they're losing time. Jos Ogos also into the pits. Santini should be getting going any second now. Galuzzi goes through to 2nd. Amsti is 3rd. Tim Muttrum's off the road. Tim Muttrum is in the barriers. Is that at Tarzan? No, it's not. It's elsewhere, but he's had an incident. Recovers safely. Santini is back on the road in 6th position. Laurent Lons is only a second behind him. I wonder, was Santini so fast because he underfueled at the start of the race and had to refuel in the pits? I reckon there's been a difference in strategy between the two of them here, because even though Lons missed his box, he is still a lot closer to Santini. So, does that solve the mystery of why Santini was able to get away so much at the start? Is it because he was crazily light on fuel? That may be a viable strategy still. I mean, he's still ahead of Lons. It's all going to depend on what Shepherd does here. Now, Shepherd can win this race despite making a drive-through at the start, and that is going to prove my point about how it looked, even though it looked as if it was Santini's race to lose, you can never be entirely sure. Then again, what if Shepherd was light on fuel too? What if that's why Shepherd was so fast? Brown gets a good run on Van der Geest. Do either of them come into the pits? Van der Geest moved over to the right hand side of the road, but that was just to try to break the toe that Brown was getting. Paul Anstey's in the pits, they're passing him by. Matteo Santini now 5th on the road and catching up to this fight between Van der Geest and Brown. Van der Geest got away from Brown quite a lot in the straight there, not entirely sure why. But now Santini is right with him and will probably go through in just a few corners time, but this is going to be holding him up slightly. This will be playing into Shepherd's hands, especially since that's not the kind of place on the track you want to catch traffic, especially those who aren't getting waved blue flags. So, Santini potentially in a bit of trouble here. I reckon Shepherd may well jump him in the pit stop stages. And Laurent Lons didn't take on anywhere near as much fuel, if any. So, Galuzzi sets his personal best lap of the race. Ooh, and over the curb heavily goes Santini. He's losing time all the time here. Oh, someone kicked up a bit of grass. I think that was Van der Geest because he's dropped right back to Brown again. Are either of these guys going to pit? I think Brown might. Yes, Brown is locking up the wheels. He comes in. Ooh, touches the wall on the way in. That was a little clumsy. Van der Geest is also in. So Santini has clean air. Now, when will Shepherd and Galuzzi pit? And when and where will they come out? That's the important factor in this race at the minute. And I think it depends on if they take fuel and how much in the pits. I have to talk to Shepherd after the race and see if you actually could do the race without refueling at all, or whether it was a case of how much do you refuel, and how the tyres play into it as well. As I said earlier, not slick tyres, grooved Can-Am tyres on these cars, and as a result, the tyres don't go off very quickly. Maddie Shepherd once again stays out and once again sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:26.518. She now leads by 11 seconds over Lorenzo Galuzzi. Pretty much 11 seconds anyway. Santini potentially has the most important job of anyone in the race right now, but running wide like that isn't going to help. Lons is gaining again on the exit. Look at this. Lons is gaining a lot here. This could be danger for Matteo Santini. Lons was over a second faster on the last lap. He goes to the outside. He gets his nose ahead. Is he going to go around the outside of Matteo Santini? He does it. Laurent Lons, a great move. Could he still be a contender in this race? I think potentially yes. So Santini makes a mistake. Lons capitalizes. Bish bash bosh, Bob's your uncle. Brown has now passed Van der Geest for 7th place. Van der Geest still there on the inside. And Brown on the grass and touches the barrier. So, just overcooked it again. That corner. Oh, and Santini's in the wall. Santini bounced off the barriers. Once, twice, round and round and round, and a third time into the barriers. Surely he's got some damage from that. It looks as if Santini was getting frustrated behind Lons, maybe frustrated with himself for making the mistake he made a few corners ago, and then just lit up the rear tyres, and around she went. And indeed, I think may have some slight damage. That car didn't look to be handling like she wanted it to, or he wanted it. My apologies, sorry. Galuzzi now in the pits. So Lons will take over 2nd position. There goes Laurent Lons. And Maddie Shepherd now leads by probably something like 20 seconds. We'll see what the timer says. 40 seconds! My goodness! So, it's all about how long a pit stop takes now. How long she is going to be. Oh, and Galuzzi goes off. Hits the wall. Maxime Tendel also in the pits now. Now you may be thinking, well, why does Shepherd still need to pit if there's no pit window and she's already been through the pits? Well, she went through the pits for a drive-through penalty, not an all 4 tyres pit stop. You have to change all 4 tyres in this race. And if you don't, I have no doubt you'll be disqualified. But for the time being... Oh, who's that running off? Is that Santini again? Oh! Santini is having a torrid time, and I think there is damage to that car. So, Ogos now through to 3rd. Santini off the road. Well, he's on it again now, but he was off the road. And struggling. I'm sure he did this in one of the DRM races as well. This is all seeming very familiar. Where he started off the race well and then had a few incidents. Anyway. Shepherd once again staying out. A little worried about this. Hopefully she knows that she has to make a pit stop. It would be a big shame if she didn't know. She's got to know. But yeah, I'm absolutely fast. Oh! And Galuzzi again. Oh my goodness, Galuzzi did that only a couple of laps ago. Has he got damage maybe? Maybe a little bit. Didn't look too bad through that. Appears to be relatively okay. Anyway. And Shepherd finally into the pits. Look at that. Locks up the wheels. Oh, and overshoots it. Maddie Shepherd overshoots the pits. It's so easy to do, especially when you have one of the earlier pit boxes like that. That's going to cost her a few seconds, maybe 4 or 5. Let's watch where Laurent Lons is. See where he is when Shepherd exits the pit. This is the tensest and most important moment in the race. This is the start of the long last corner for Laurent Lons. The slight kink here is boss wheat, and that is the last corner. And Shepherd is leaving her box. Lons is right there. Lons is going to lead the race. So Laurent Lons leads the race. Part of that will be due to Shepherd overshooting the box. And to be honest, ooh, that was close. And to be honest, judging by the gap, I reckon she might be leading this race if she hadn't done that. So due to a mistake by Maddie Shepherd, Laurent Lons retakes the lead of the race. It's Lons, Shepherd, Orgos, Santini, Galuzzi, Van der Geest, Brown. Oh, Brown's just passed Van der Geest, has he? Side by side. And yes, Brown does go through to 6th position. And then it's Anstey, Muttram and Tendil. Lock up from Brown. Keeps it within the lines. 2 retirements so far today, of course, were Mark Johnson and Shaba Lacko, with various incidents. Wide! Oh, that's Brown and there's contact! It looks as if Brown tried to regain his line without accounting for where Van der Geest may have stuck his nose. And around goes Phil Brown. Here comes Anstey. Anstey may go through as well here. He'll have a run, and there he goes. So Anstey does go through. Brown leaves some space. And that's a bit of a shame that those two were racing hard, and it eventually turned out to be a little too hard, potentially. Santini is now back on the tail of Orgos. He was within a second of him there for a second. Just looking back at the Brown Van der Geest incident, Brown will maybe argue that Van der Geest shouldn't have stuck his nose there, but Van der Geest will say, well, you know, you were having the incident. It was your responsibility to look where I was when you were rejoining the racing line. And I think I would lean more towards Van der Geest's point of view there, but I'm putting words in their mouths. So, into the final third of the race, and we are watching the battle between Jos Orgos and Matteo Santini over 3rd position. Santini led most of the race, but was jumped and eventually, well, lost a place to Lons, and eventually ended up making a couple of mistakes and having a pretty hefty whack off the barrier, but still is in with a good chance of a podium position. But there's one driver in between that and him, and that is, of course, Jos Orgos in the, I think, 198 car, the orange livery. Through the final corner of this particular lap. And there's going to be some slipstreaming taking place on the start-finish straight this time around. Interestingly, the gap for the lead, 3.6 seconds. Keep that in your mind. We'll see if it goes up or down in the next few laps. Santini not able to jump past Jos Orgos there. Brown and Anstey relatively close as well, but I don't want to miss anything between these two. No disrespect to Brown or Anstey, but this is a more important battle in terms of the race order at this point in time. Through the Hugenholzbocht. And a good exit from Santini there. He gets his nose up and alongside Orgos' car, but has to back out of it. Brown gets past Anstey. He goes through into Tarzan. So Brown up to 7th. Let's watch Santini on board as he hunts Jos Orgos through the sand dunes. This whole circuit situated on what is effectively a beach. And now back towards the ocean. Ooh, that was close. Almost ran straight into the back of Jos Orgos' car. Van der Geest has made a mistake. He's just been passed by Brown and Anstey, so something happened there, and he's down to 8th. Those two right together on track again. Santini with the slipstream. And slipstream Santini gets very close to the back of Orgos' car again. What about the exit? His exits are so much better than Jos's at this point in the race. He just seems to put down the power so much quicker. Has a lot more traction in the rear tyres. That'll be partly because of his setup, partly because of his driving style, and partly because he's so fired up to get past this little orange car in front of him that stands between him and a metaphorical podium. Of course, there is no podium ceremony, there's no champagne, there's no trophy, but it always feels better to finish third than fourth. Mainly just because people understand what you mean when you say you got a podium. But it does come with an extra point, of course, an extra few points. Oh, lock up from Ogos! And Santini almost runs into the back of him. That was really close there, just as it was a lap before. And Santini would benefit from not doing that, actually, because, as Muttrum's got past Van der Geest, so Muttrum recovering a bit. Not sure if he's going to pit again or not. All depends on whether he needs to, because I think he changed all 4 tyres when he came in for those damage repairs earlier on. So, Santini would benefit from not getting quite so close to Ogos through that corner, because it always sets him up badly for the exit. And I think if he can get a good exit there, he can get a much better run through the final 2 corners of the lap, Boss Wheat, or the final corner of the lap rather, and get the slipstream down the start-finish straight. That's what he should be doing the last few laps. And Van der Geest is in the pits, and I'm not entirely surprised by that. He appears to be struggling the last few laps. Santini almost back alongside Ogos here, and he's going to touch the grass, is he? That was very close. I think he may have touched the grass. You don't want to do that in a braking zone. Even when you just tap the brakes lightly like you do through there. Wasn't quite as close to Ogos through there, but still didn't get a great exit. Maddie Shepherd sets her first fastest lap of the race in a long time. The gap for the lead, under 3 seconds again, 2.6, 2.5. Maybe we're still going to have a race for the lead in these late stages. I think it's quite likely, actually. This is a tense race. It's really building up here. Both between Lons and Shepherd, and more immediately, Ogos and Santini. Santini still not able to find a way through. John Van der Geest returns to the road. Doesn't become our 3rd retirement, so we still have 10 cars running. And 2 of those might as well be 1, because it's more like an 8-wheeler than 2 Lotus T70s right now. You could glue them together and it wouldn't make much difference. Santini is so much better than Ogos on the exit, but Ogos just knows where to position his car to stop Santini from getting his nose alongside. Oh, and that was a big hit of the curb, and Ogos goes over and into the wall. Goodness. Ogos loses 3rd place in a very similar way to how he bounced off the wall earlier as well. And that's a big shame for Ogos, because that wasn't necessarily his fault. I suppose technically it was his fault, but you really don't expect that curb to do that there. He must have just clipped it at just the wrong angle or in just the wrong place. And the car turned into a bit of a bucking Bronco. Santini twitched to avoid him, but did avoid him. And he goes through into 3rd position. So Lons, Shepherd, Santini, Ogos, Galuzzi, the top 5 right now. A couple of those have had incidents, but all of them are still running. 10 cars still running in this race still. The closest of those, Santini versus Ogos. And actually Lons has pulled away slightly from Shepherd there. He's pulled away about a second since I last mentioned that. Maybe Shepherd made a mistake. Remember, it was Laurent Lons who Shepherd forced off the road at turn 1. So what a bit of What irony it would be if Laurent Luns was to beat Shepard to the flag after that. I think it would be quite fitting, actually. Although Shepard would also very much deserve it if she was to win, despite taking a drive-through. Mark Webber, of course, won his first Grand Prix despite taking a drive-through. And that's very wide from Santini. Argos there may have another chance to get past his rival. May have another shot at the podium here. All depends on how they traverse this final corner. That's looking good for Argos there. He might have enough of a slipstream. Now where's he going to position his car towards turn 1? Santini will be holding the inside line. Argos takes a look to the outside. And Santini keeps his nose ahead. Santini keeps that third position. Jos Argos may have just lost his last chance for podium. Although not if he's got anything to do with it. Not if he can keep up with Matteo Santini. Santini 20 seconds behind Maddie Shepard. When I said the leading pair were in a class of their own earlier on, neither of those who I was referring to were Laurent Luns, but amazingly, he has simply flown since then. We're into the final 10 minutes of this race now, or at least final 10 minutes until the checkered flag is prepared. So not much longer to go now before we see who is going to be the victor here. Shepard has brought the gap down to within three seconds again. And that last lap was over half a second quicker. So Shepard's still not giving up. And rightfully so. I think she can still do it here. But it's going to be close and it's going to be difficult. And it's one thing to catch something and another to pass them, as the old cliche saying goes. Nine minutes to go in this race now. It's been an unpredictable one. And at Tarzan on the first lap, when Laurent Luns was forced off the road, not many people would have predicted that he'd come back through to win. But to be honest, Laurent Luns is probably one of the best people to do so from that position, because he just kind of gets on and does it. Matteo Santini is very good as well, but tends to make mistakes around the middle point in the race. That's how he lost a few races in the DRM series, I think. And Maddie Shepard has been a little too error prone in the past as well, although he's also very good. But Laurent Luns, a very complete, very all-round driver. Keep an eye on that gap though. Oh, that's good from Shepard, look at that! Another 126.865 there. Almost within 2 seconds of Laurent Luns now. This really is not over yet. We're watching Santini and Argos though, just in case Argos is able to come back at Santini in the time being. But Luns and Shepard. And keep an eye on that gap. Argos has set his personal best lap of the race the last 2 times around now. So he's still pushing. But Santini's still getting away bit by bit. His last 2 laps have been faster than Argos' last 2 laps. And he continues to pull away ever so slightly into that 3rd position. But he's not comfortable yet. Tim Muttram also his personal best lap of the race, as he sits in 8th position. And possibly catches Paul Anstey, although a little slowly for his liking. Let's ride on board with Argos for a bit. This is how the classic Zandvoort circuit looks from on board one of these cars. Nice, simple, simplistic steering wheel. You don't see those nowadays. Nowadays there's buttons all over the place. Shepard's lap 0.7 of a second faster than Luns. The fight for the lead is well and truly on here. Shepherd absolutely flying, as she has been for most of this race. Let's take a look at someone else quickly, because we haven't really had a chance to look up and down the field much this race. Paul Anstey here, running in 7th position in the number 31. Still on the lead lap. Not sure if anyone actually has been lapped yet, because Johnson, of course, was 2 laps down and then pitted. Maddie Shepherd can see Laurent Luns very clearly in her sights. And as we approach the final 5 minutes of the race, it's all or nothing now. Unless, of course, she's more concerned about the championship, and it's all or not quite all. But knowing Maddie, she will want to capitalise on this opportunity, and she will be thrilled if she manages that. And Ogos has got back past Santini apparently, so Santini must have made a mistake. Ogos is back through to 3rd and does have another chance for a podium here. Wow, that's dramatic in the late stages. Didn't see how that happened. Wish we had replays, unfortunately we don't. And Shepherd gets within half a second of Laurent Luns. Her last lap was almost a second faster than Laurent's, although she looks up a wheel into Tarzan. But at this rate she'll be faster anyway. Now, can she get through? And if so, where? It's the final 5 minutes of the race, so Luns will be defending for his life. This is one of the tensest battles for the victory that I've seen developing in recent races. Up the hill they go, over the Scheiflach. Or over the crest into Scheiflach. I don't know if that crest itself has a name. And then out towards the old part of the circuit. Dust kicked up behind them. And 2 beautiful Lolas are set to dogfight here at Zandvoort. I'm keeping an eye on the gap between Ogos and Santini as well. They still appear to be fighting over 3rd. Shepherd takes a look. Right, it's all about the slipstream here. What can Shepherd do? Positioning into turn 1 is also important, but not everything. We've seen some people going around the outside of Tarzan. This looks pretty much inevitable. Maddie Shepherd to the outside now. Across the start-finish line. She takes the lead. And Santini is off, and so is Ogos. They've come together, but look at Luns. Luns goes back through to the lead. Luns goes back through to the lead. Ogos and Santini did come together. They both got going again, but Galuzzi is through to 3rd. And Shepherd is back alongside Luns. What about on the exit? That's a good exit. That's a really good exit. There's a couple of sweepers in the way though, preventing her from getting back through. God, I wish we could see what happened between Ogos and Santini as we were watching this fight. This is brilliant stuff in the late stages. Almost an hour of racing and there's nothing separating them. 2 very evenly matched drivers. 2 very, very good drivers. Both of them have had to overcome adversity. Luns, of course, had to recover from an off at the first corner. Shepherd had to recover from the same incident at the first corner, but in a different way after taking a drive-through penalty. Both of them are over 30 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. And even though it's the first round, they're going at it like it's for the championship. And the way the point system works, it may end up being so. Back in the slipstream. Shepherd with a huge overspeed. To the left-hand side. 2 laps to go. They both look over a wheel. Are they safe? Shepherd around the outside! Slides! She has the inside. And Shepherd leads the race. An amazing manoeuvre. Right around the top of Tarzanbocht. Makes it stick. And I hope my microphone's not topping out too much. Apologies if it is, but that was stunning. Well, can Luns do anything about that in the final 1.5 laps of this race? It's going to be tough. The timer is ticking to a close. Lon's still there though. Look at that, so feisty. Into the final sector of this lap. Ooh, he's taking a look. Lon's back up the inside. Locks a wheel, but he's still there. And Shepard's still there too. They lead on each other on the exit, do they? And Lons retakes the lead at a place where I didn't think we would ever see an overtaking manoeuvre, let alone for the lead. Shepard will once again have the slipstream. This is where she's pulled moves the last couple of laps. This may come down to a drag race on the last lap of the race. They're starting the last lap now. Shepard retakes the lead, but what about the braking zone? Can she do it again on the outside? They lock up wheels. They touch! They touch on the last lap of the race! Shepard's on the inside, which is turning into the outside. There's more locking up of wheels and Shepard retakes it! Almost exactly as she did a lap ago, but even more impressively. Santini and Brown also fighting over 5th place. But we have no time to focus on that right now because we have a fantastic scrap for the lead on the last lap. It may not even be the best thing to be leading the race right now, because of the way the slipstream works out of the final corner. The last 2 laps, as Brown passes Santini for they're side by side further back. Let's take a quick look at that. Santini's still ahead, but yeah, the last 2 times around, the person who's been leading out the final corner hasn't led across the start finish line. Then again, it's been Lon's both time, so are we going to see the same thing again? There are no more heavy braking zones in this race. It all comes down to this. Oh, Lance looks up, he's going off! Lance is running wide, and that's his last chance. That's the race. Maddie Shepard wins it in pretty much the final corner. Maddie Shepard, what a victory! What a drive! What a driver! Maddie Shepard across the line. Lauren Lons is second. Lorenzo Galuzzi is going to be third. An unlikely third after Ergos and Santini fought it out for so long. Let's take a look at the battle between Santini and Brown and see if anything changes between those two on the last lap. Towards the end of the course themselves, Galuzzi is a safe 3rd place. And I think Santini will hold off Brown. It'll be relatively close due to the slipstream, but not close enough. There we go. About half a second in the end. So Ogos 4th, Santini 5th, Brown 6th. Paul Anstey is going to finish 7th. You see Tim Muttram in the background having an uncharacteristically uncompetitive race, although he did make a very early pit stop in his defence. Maxime Tendel was 9th, and John van der Geest will be a lonely 10th. So, Maddie Shepard has won in a ridiculously close finish. A fantastic battle to the flag. 1.275 seconds was the gap in the end, but it was going to be nothing. They were going to cross the line absolutely side by side if Lons hadn't locked a wheel into that final corner there. Lorenzo Galuzzi 3rd, half a minute behind the leaders. Jos Ogos 4th, and Santini, Brown, Anstey, Muttram, Tendel and Van der Geest, and the 2 who didn't finish were Mark Johnson and Shaba Lacko. That was that's the lot then. What a fantastic race that was from Zandvoort. Join us in 2 weeks' time. I'll just double check that it is 2 weeks' time. I believe it is. Yes, indeed. March the 15th, same time, for a race from the 1938. Apologies for the language, you can see in chat quickly. I'll try to scroll up. Anyway, the next race will be from Donington, 1938. Same cars, same time, and hopefully same amount of thrilling racing action. Thank you all for watching, whether you watched live or in or post race.